Rev up your engines!
Mackenzie Owen says, how do I not get scammed buying cars on Craigslist? Watch my video, how to buy a used car, so you can check them out yourself. But the first thing is, say, is it a clean title? They got to tell you yes or no. Then you say, is the title in your name? And if they say no, walk away. Because that's the biggest scam, is that these used car lots pay private guys to sell cars they're selling. And if the person's title is not in their name, don't buy it, because they're selling it for somebody else. That's one of the easiest ways. Who's selling it? And if it's not theirs, then you know, walk right away. And of course, before you ever get it, have a mechanic check it out. Don't ever buy a car on scene from a mechanic, because there's so many ways people can cheat you. Look at the title first, and if they say they don't have the title or it's not in their name, just walk. Don't listen to any crap on that. Anthony Trent says, Scotty, what do you think of the WRX? Okay, with the Subarus, those are fun to drive. They always have been zippy cars. Now, realize that it's old technology. Those four-cylinder boxer engines, that's what the Volkswagen Beetles used in Adolf's time when they made the first one. It's old technology, and they're trying to get horsepower out of old technology, and it can be done, and they're okay for driving around. But today, with modern car designs, for the horsepower they put out, for the price they charge, for how they run, I don't think they're really worth the money. On the other hand, if you can get a used one cheap enough that's in decent shape, they can be fun cars to drive around. But there's no way in Hades that I'd buy one of those things brand new at a high sticker price. You're just throwing your money away then. Try to find one that has been taken care of, that you can get used. And definitely, if you get one, get a standard transmission. Don't even think about getting one with an automatic. They're garbage. Ethan Becker says, Scotty, are Tesla batteries good in the winter? Are the Tesla Model 3, are they reliable cars? They're relatively reliable. Electric motors are so much simpler. There's not that much to them. I got a friend who lives in Quebec, in Canada. He went out and he got an electric car, and he found that in the winter, it gets really cold there, sometimes 40, 50 below, that you lose up to 45% of your battery mileage that you can go right off the bat when it gets that cold. That's the problem with batteries. They're not made for really cold weather, and they're not made for really hot weather. You know, that's something that's always going to kick out electric cars, is really cold. They're not really made for extremes. Electric motors are good at lower speeds and lower power, but at either cold temperatures or hot temperatures, when it gets really cold, they can't do anything about that, because if they use their own energy to heat themselves up, then they would go even less. Think about that. You live in a cold climate, you might rethink electric cars. Idris Yassin says, what do you think of the GT350 Mustang? Well, very interesting technology. You know, the GT350, fast, fun cars to drive around. They cost a whole bunch of money. They're not giving them away, because anytime they make something like that, the GT series, they always up the ante, the price and stuff on them, and they're super high technology. There's no arguing that. They're not like a simple old V8 with just plain old fuel injection and no turbos or superchargers. They've got all the bells and whistles on them. Fun to drive, but, you know, as time goes on and they age, they're probably going to have engineering problems with some of that high-tech turbo and GDI stuff breaking down as it ages. It's just modern technology. The stuff that really goes as it ages, it's going to break down faster and cost a lot more money to fix. 2 Pro 4X official says, what do you think of the Toyota Paseo? They were decent cars. They were a marketing failure. They never were really popular. When you start making a cheaper car, it's always a problem, because how cheap are you going to make it so that it's still decent, but it doesn't cost that much? And that was always the problem with the cheaper Toyotas. They're decent cars. It's just that they weren't that great. And when you get low end, sometimes they're too low end. They don't ride that well, and they're buckety. And so they were kind of a failure sales-wise, but they weren't bad cars. All right, Google's getting in the car action now. They are working on a personal safety app that will notify and automatically call 911 if you get in a car wreck. Of course, like everything else these days, it's all based on the old cell phone, and it's going to have various software inputs like motion sensors on these, the noise that it hears coming in the car. If it hears people screaming or crash noises, it's going to be able to call you to see if you're okay, and if you don't respond, it's going to call 911 and give your location. Now, it's not out yet. Somebody leaked some of the information on it, but people are working on these things, and not a bad idea, really, if it works out right. I can certainly see if it screws up and starts calling that there's problems when there aren't, that the 911 guys are going to be mad as hornets. Somebody rattling the hornet's nest, they're they're going to come out screaming if they keep getting called to stuff that isn't actually there. And knowing how apps work, especially when they're in a beta formation, they often have glitches in them. But if they get it down pat, this personal safety app, hey, could save a lot of people in the long run. BW Wrenchy says, when are you cleaning up that mess in your garage, or it's just organized chaos? Like the physicists say, the end state of all matter is entropy. I'm just preparing for the end times in my garage. Guy wrote this book, Grendel, ages ago. Hero of the story was this monster, and he had all his crap in a cave, and he said, my whole purpose in life is to one day get all my stuff and put it in piles, and maybe one day give them all a name. Maybe I'll try that. Drive my wife nuts, but it keeps her out of the garage. She never goes in there anymore. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.